I'm Mr. Beats. I'm here in Iowa, baby. Woo-hoo! And it seems like all of the United States, heck, all of the world has its eyes on Iowa. Why? Because of the Iowa Caucus. It's the first chance that voters have to pick their nominee for president for their political party. But does the Iowa Caucus actually predict who will be the presidential nominee? First of all, what is a caucus? Well, it's a gathering of local members of a political party who register their preference among candidates running for public office. Based on how much support candidates get, they have a certain number of delegates to represent them at their political party's national convention. The caucus in Iowa is different than a primary that most other states do, in that people literally shout at each other in schools and community centers in order to convince each other to support one candidate and then count up the winners. Each candidate needs at least 15% of the support in the room to get recognized in the precinct. But JJ McCullough can tell you more about how it all works in his new Iowa Caucus extravaganza video. Check it out and stuff. And speaking of JJ, I got to hang out with him while in Iowa and I bugged him with questions. As a Canadian, what's your perspective as far as the Iowa Caucus? Like, is this a weird thing or something you like?
I've enjoyed it. I think it's really sort of American democracy at its best. You know, you get to be up close and personal. I've gone to a whole bunch of candidate events where you get to be in really quite close proximity to the candidates. You get to see these people that you've only ever seen on television in the flesh. I think it's great. I mean, I think it's something that a lot of other countries would benefit from, having a sort of robust accountability process for their own political parties.
Do you think it makes sense that Iowa is the first state? Do you think it's fair that Iowa gets to go first?
Well, that seems a bit random, and from what I understand, it is mostly random. But, you know, at the same time, you know, Iowa's preferences are not really that different from the national American electorate's preferences. You know, the person who does well in Iowa is generally someone that is probably broadly popular in the US as well. It seems a little strange that it's Iowa of all places, but it doesn't seem like their preferences are so out of whack that there's something kind of fundamentally wrong about letting them pick.
We're making this video in 2010 for future viewers. We're making this video for 2020 for viewers who are watching in the future. What are your predictions for who will win Iowa and the nominee and the president for 2020? This is just for fun, putting you on the spot here.
All right. I think that Biden will win Iowa. The impression I've gotten is just that a lot of the people that vote in the Iowa caucuses are generally older folks. It is a little bit of a more taxing process, so I think that gives Biden a bit of an advantage. I suspect that Biden will also win overall. I think that he has a pretty solid lead. I mean, Sanders is sort of tightening it in the national numbers, but I think on a state-by-state basis, Biden is a bit stronger. But I do think that Trump will win the general election.
Any final thoughts about the Iowa caucus?
You know, speaking as a foreigner, I think that a lot of times there's this exaggerated confusion that foreigners sometimes have about the American party nomination process. Oh, it's so weird, Iowa caucus, oh, what's that? But I think that, you know, when you put a little bit of effort into trying to understand it, it's actually a pretty intuitive process. And I think the American primary system and just the way that ordinary Americans get involved in picking who their party's nominee should be is, I think, a very admirable process that I think a lot of foreigners should spend more time learning about, and they might discover something that they like.
Yeah, because being first is a pretty big deal, in case you hadn't noticed. The commonly held belief is that if a candidate does well in Iowa, it gives them a ton of momentum to win in later caucuses and primaries. Okay, I forgot why I was making this video again. Oh yeah! Is the Iowa caucus overrated? Is it all just hype? Can it really predict who will eventually be the nominee? Well, maybe? Actually, it kind of depends on the political party the candidate is in. Since 1972, when the Iowa caucus first became a thing, USA Today reported that 70% of the Democratic Party's Iowa caucus winners went on to become its presidential nominee. However, just 37.5% of the Republican Party's Iowa caucus winners went on to become its presidential nominee. So based on this short history, one of these people, except Deval Patrick, sorry Duvall, has a 70% chance of becoming the nominee if they win in the Iowa Caucus. And now the bad news for one of these people. Iowa caucuses are terrible at predicting who will actually be the next president. Just 2 Democrats and 1 Republican since 1972 have made it all the way to winning the presidency after first winning the Iowa Caucus. There's actually a whole lot more to learn about the Iowa Caucus. In fact, it's freaking fascinating. So go check out JJ's video. I'll put the link in the description. Also, while you're at it, my friends Will and Tristan made a video years ago about why Iowa is the first state to have a caucus, so check out that video as well. And a shout out to my friend Dan for filming and helping out with this episode. And now I'm gonna go walk back home to Kansas.